I'm calling the Select Board Sewer Commissioners meeting to order. This meeting is held in person and hybrid. It's being recorded by Town of West Boylston staff. Tonight you have 3 members of the Select Board. Jay and Raj will be absent. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, folks. So the next item on the agenda, and since I have a full room, is a 15-minute period. It's an opportunity for public comment. During that time, we cannot deliberate or address those. I'd ask, before starting this, how many members, by a show of hands, are planning on speaking tonight? Okay, so if we have a total time of 15 minutes, Mark, I think, will take the option of going last. Okay, so that I can give you folks that period of time. If we want to have the first person come up and you can sit at the table, state your name and address for the record, and we'll start. So this is your 15 minutes. You win because you're in the front row. Come on up. Or you, or whoever. Okay.
Okay. So, we're here about, many of us, I think, are here about Fairbanks Street.
So name and,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
William Italiano, Fairbanks Street.
okay, one of you. All right.
So I don't know if you are aware that there was a detour proposed to go up Fairbanks Street?
I was just made aware
Okay.
when I
And
saw the people come in.
So I spoke with the engineer, okay, I spoke with the engineer and they've changed it. They've gone down they're gonna change it to go, what we proposed, to go down 12 and 110. But that's not gonna prevent people from coming up there. So I'd just like to read you, because I know my time is limited, some correspondence I had with Jim O'Day. This was in part of the letter, I think it sums it up. At present, Fairbanks Street has no enforceable speed limit signs. We're hoping some sort of remedies will be put in place to make Fairbanks Street undesirable to travel as a detour. For example, speed limit signs, local traffic-only signs, temporary or permanent speed humps. Too many people are using the road now as an arterial, traveling sometimes in excess of 60 miles an hour, which is clocked. And someone now, there's no enforceable speed limit signs on the street. The detour signs are still there but covered. They haven't been taken down. There's yellow speed limit signs, 30 miles an hour, which are non-enforceable. Only white speed limit signs are enforceable. School's out now. Kids are going to be on bicycles. And I have a packet here, guys, folks, if you would accept it.
Yep, could you give it to Faye and we'll grab it?
Correspondence between the engineers, attorney, it's that I have to look at this matter. And the last packet in this, on the 5th page of that packet it's a complete streets policy, which which West Boylston is part of. 20 miles an hour, there's a 5% fatality rate. At 30, it's 45%. So me personally, and I haven't had a chance to test it, but I'd like to see 20 mile an hour speed limit signs. I'd like to see local traffic only, no through traffic, something that's going to prevent people from coming up there. You're all welcome to come to my house, have a beer with me if you want, and look at my kitchen window and watch people speed up that street doing 60. And people that don't live on the street. There's, landscapers, there's dump trucks. There's been accidents on the street. And and with this detour, there's going to be a lot more people coming up there. Changing the sign's not going to prevent them from coming up. People are going to not set they're not going to set their alarm clocks 5 minutes earlier. They're going to make this time going up Fairbanks Street. It's a 7-second difference, the detour, to go Route 12 and 110. It's 7 seconds different if you do the speed limits. But they're not going to know that. They're just going to see it looks like a shorter distance. And it's 1.4 miles shorter to go Fairbanks than down 12 or 110. And I don't know if this board has the authority to get someone out there to put some signs up or not. But, you know, God forbid someone's kid gets hurt, I wouldn't want to be the ones having to say, I'm sorry,
All right.
you know.
I'm gonna say you're at, I don't know if everyone else, you're at almost
About 3.5 minutes.
3.5 minutes?
Yep.
Just want to make sure you have time.
There's a book, AASHTO, it's called the Green Book, Paul's got it there. And the charts and the geometric limitations and engineering judgment would determine that road to be a 20-mile-an-hour zone. You know, we're not just pulling this out of our hat kind of deal. You know, and,
Does the document that you gave specify the details?
excuse me?
The information you gave to Faye, does it have the details you're referencing?
In that packet, yes.
Okay, perfect.
You know, in your, in West Boylston Safe Street policy is in there also, along with the national one. And in that, in the last packet is the, not Safe Streets, Complete Streets, I apologize. The 5th page on that is that chart, will show you the fatality rates.
Yeah.
On that. So, that's all I got, I guess.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next.
Hi, John Bourgeois, 183 Fairbank Street, and I am also here to talk about that. And while I will second that, yes, the detour signs have been covered, they are still up. And furthermore, the detour sign was just changed Monday, and the map says that it was plotted, and I will quote to you, on July 13th, 2025, which begs the question, how good is this engineering firm really at time management in the first place? Second of all, there are a lot of issues on this street already. So number one, it has a feeder brook to the Wachusett Reservoir, and the increase in traffic going over that will pollute that reservoir. Also, I personally have fished out 15 beer cans in one day out of that. This increase will increase litter and pollution in this feeder stream. Second of all, we have large animals that are very common. Deer and bears are not uncommon on this street, and turkeys are ubiquitous, as anyone can attest to. And as of yesterday, I put out a trail cam in my front yard just to see what kind of traffic we are actually getting on this street. And as of yesterday, when the weather was terrible, I counted 4 unique dog walkers, so 4 people walking their dogs. There were 5 walkers or runners, and there were 3 kids. And bear in mind, this is whenever there is bad weather. So as summer progresses, how much worse is this going to get? So this is an absolute hazard that is present, and I yield the remaining time. Thank you.
Thank you. I think there was 2.
Paul Bidgood, 14 Fairbank Street. Thank you. I want to just emphasize what Bill talked about. I think he's done a very good job. He hired an attorney and put this package together, which was given to Fay. In here, it really thoroughly references this book, which is the standard that engineers would look at, traffic engineers, construction engineers, anyone building a road will look at. This provides guidance to make sure a street is safe. You know, you need to have a certain lane width. Fairbank Street lane width is 7 to 8 feet, where it should be 12 feet. The pavement width is 20 feet, and it should be 22 feet. There should be a shoulder. We have a negligible to minimal shoulder. A clear zone is kind of outside of the shoulder, which should be free of obstructions in case there's an errant car. It's a little safety zone. They can recover and not, you know, kill somebody. We have none of that on this street. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Fairbank Street, but, you know, Route 12 comes down, 110 comes down, and they meet by Bamboo Garden, by the Causeway Crossing Shopping Center. And if you step back, you come back a mile on 110, that's where Fairbanks is, and it kind of snakes over to Route 12, which is 1.7 miles back. So people historically, I moved here, or I'm familiar with the road since 1974. Many of these residents have been here longer than that. But I've observed all the additional, homes that, generally that have been created in that region, not just on Fairbanks Street, but, so in addition to the additional traffic over time, and now with GPS, with those mapping techniques where they, if you want to go from point A to point B, well, they divert traffic over Fairbanks Street. So we just feel it's all wrong. You could probably pulse everybody in here, and they all have an example of, a bad situation. So I think the attorney did a great job summarizing what's in the guidebook, if you will. And one good thing about this issue is we don't have to search high and low for what the proper answer is. There's this book and there's one other book called the Manual for Uniform Traffic Control Devices, all right? Every single state, every single city in the country, every single town uses those as a guide. And we solved the problem. Actually, there's two problems. One problem is the detour. The detour has two facets to it. One is initially they were going to use Fairbanks Street. We've got that corrected. Now they're going to stay on the highways. Part B of that is because the detour signs had been up, Sterling had sent a notice to their residents to use Fairbanks Street. So there's general knowledge out there that they're supposed to use Fairbanks Street. The signs are up, and even before this, the local region would use it. So part B of the detour issue is to stop the through traffic and you get the speeds down. The second problem is that once this job is over and done with, all right, the bridge has been corrected in Sterling for the CSX. They're happy. The town of Sterling's happy. West Boylston, to some extent, will be happy. We have two other bridges in town, which is kind of part of the overall project. Everybody's going to be happy, except the residents on Fairbanks Street. We have, prior to this, one good thing about this project is it's raised the awareness of all of us. It's just wrong. And I'm not sure if you guys have understanding of streets. You have freeways, arterials, collectors, and local roads. That's the hierarchy of what cars should travel on. They're taking traffic from 110 and 12, which are arterials, and they're throwing it onto a local road. It's completely against everything. And that will persist when the job is done. That's still going to persist, and that has to be corrected. And that's actually more important than the detour. And we've actually fixed the detour. Once we get some signage up, the detour issue, we can live for a couple of months, get that fixed. But I also have the...
You're at 11 minutes, just
okay.
so.
Is
the rest of you
anyone
are-
else want to speak?
Oh.
I just wanted to highlight this too. This is it's a 4-page West Boylston's Complete Streets Policy. And I want to emphasize the word streets. It's not singular, although in some cases we can fix one street, but plural, sometimes you have to fix an issue by looking at additional streets. And in this case, with Fairbanks Street, we have three streets, if you will, 110, 12, and Fairbanks Street. And also in here, every single construction project that comes forward in West Boylston is an opportunity to fix the situation. Not just for the project at hand, but you're supposed to look at what's going on and make improvements to the background information or situation, if you will. So here's an opportunity, and I can go through here, there's wills, there's shalls, there's wills, shalls, wills, shalls, all through here. It's an opportunity for the town to look at the situation and say, you know what? We met with the Director of Public Works, and he was just, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he said, of course Fairbanks shouldn't, paraphrasing, of course Fairbanks Street shouldn't be used as a cut-through. You have the arterial, and we're a local road. It's just a total mismatch. And I'll leave with that. And we would like, to have that addressed if Bill and I kind of are working together. If you wanted to assign Heather or the Department of Public Works, we've met with both of them. We're willing to come and, offer additional insight. And we've done a lot of research, and we'll leave it at that. But it has to be put on the table. The next agenda item has to fix Fairbanks Street before someone gets hurt.
Could you say your name one more time for the record, please?
Paul
Paul.
Bidgood, Bidgood. Good.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Mark, you are last on the list. I'm gonna give you 3 minutes. Come, you gotta come state your name and address at the table.
Mark Frieden at the table. 8 Pinewood
Full,
Drive.
full name and address, sir.
Mark Frieden, that's my name. 8 Pinewood Drive, West Boylston, Mass. 01583.
Thank you.
My time started yet, or did it start when I
Yes,
started?
we'll start it right now.
So I found out that this is my only time to speak at tonight's meeting, so that's fine, or anybody's time to speak. I want to address the policies that are being reviewed. I like them. The personnel policy I was concerned about, but I reviewed it a little bit, had ChatGPT review it. I think it's okay. I like the getting ahead of it, getting it in place before we try to change the bylaw. That's good. The initial compliance certificate for Mass School Building Authority, I thought that should be disclosed, just maybe a conflict, not a financial conflict, but just the optical conflict, that you and Jim are both on committees and both gonna sign the document. That was it. Just wanted out. Glad to see curbside pickup is going on in town. The DCR pilot subcommittee, I was wondering how to participate, if it's possible to participate. I would be interested, but I won't be able to talk then. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say about the policies is maybe we add to the policy, or the notice bylaw, that there is some hearing aspect to that, so that there is an opportunity to speak when you're talking about a policy change, or a fee change or something like that. I don't think I have anything else. Oh, I do. Finance Committee, I'd like to get on it. I would like to change that bylaw, because I've asked for a waiver of being on another board, elected position, but still being able to be on that board. It's right now not allowed. I was asking for a waiver. We'll see if it can happen in the future. I'd like to, it sounds like the concern voiced by the bylaw is that the person on the FinCom is not on the select board also, but not necessarily any elected office. So I would clarify, I'd offer that we should change the bylaw to clarify that. If it's only select board, say only select board. I think that's it. Did I do my 3 minutes?
You still have time.
Oh. I don't know what else I should do. Oh, I encourage the Fairbanks thing. The Fairbanks construction is also happening in our town with near the Legion, that train bridge is being elevated to, and in fact, they're closing down the Legion for a little while. Then moving it someplace else.
On Hartwell?
On Hartwell. They're closing that building, but they're opening it someplace else for the time when you can't get to that building. I believe that's the plan right now. It might even be closed now. Good project in town. Have at it.
All right,
I mean, and I think it's temporary, but I do appreciate the other projects.
thank you, Mark. And everyone else. Now I'm aware, and I will read those items that were handed. They will get distributed to everybody here.
I just think, make note, there's the definitions of the differences between local roads and arterials and collectors, all that information is in there.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna continue. Are you guys staying for the rest of the meeting? I'll give you a chance now. It's your chance to run out. I'll hold for just a moment. Thank you all. I don't make enough and I want my $4. I want it.
Take a ride down the street someday. It's a beautiful street. We don't want to change it though. Out of the speed limit sign. Thank you. Oh, that's right.
Okay. All right, folks. Next item on the agenda, to review and vote to approve the warrants for the period covering May 22nd, 2025 through June 4th, 2025, as stated in the agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. All right, so meeting minutes. I like to take these one at a time. So January 15th, 2025, regular meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve January 15th, 2025 regular meeting minutes.
Do I have a second? Second for discussion.
Discussion.
Okay, second, okay.
As I was not on the board, I'm just gonna wait, pause for a sec for that beeping to stop.
They're holding the door.
Okay. As I was not on this committee, this board, I should say, for these various meetings, I'm not sure that I should vote on moving them forward because I was not
If-
present for them.
If it's an abstain, though, we don't have enough to approve.
Also, you're voting to say what is, that you read on the meeting minutes. You're not necessarily agreeing that that's what happened, I guess, right? Is that
If you abstain,
correct? Not abstain, if you,
But I guess what we're asking is if I
does Heather know this?
second this, am I saying I believe that the meeting minutes to be accurate to a meeting that I did not attend? That's my concern about. I don't have a great
Heather?
concern about the validity, I just wasn't present for it. Heather, please.
I would table the minutes until you have a majority of members that were present at the meeting that you're voting the minutes for.
all right, so we will table the meeting minutes that are in the agenda till our next meeting. All of them, because we don't, he wouldn't have been here for any of them. All right, we're also gonna executive session, sorry. I guess both those buckets. All right, I am in an effort, because I see our new superintendent here. There is an item on the agenda to consider authorizing the select board chair to sign the initiative certificate for the Mass Schools Building Authority. So, would you like to come up and just say anything about this, or? Sure. I mean, just say hi to everyone at this point. I introduced you to the entire room.
Sure. Sit right here?
Yeah, just sit there. It's a hot seat. You have to say your name.
All right.
Your address, your social security number.
Okay, yeah,
Well,
Dan Riley, I'm at 11 Clinton, I'm just kidding. I'm coming in as the new superintendent July 1st. Thank you for inviting me tonight. So the initial compliance certification is basically in order to really begin the opening window for MSBA and the new school building project. It essentially shows that the town and the school and the town administrator are all on the same page with what project we're asking the MSBA for, the Mass School Building Authority, that is.
Can I ask you a few technical questions?
Sure.
So, in an effort to make sure there's no, not ethically violating, fully transparent, for the school committee to sign, they had to take a vote, and their board is made of 5 members to sign this?
Yes, they did. Yep,
So, our board,
yep.
in that aspect, also would need to take a vote and agree to sign that, too. And then you guys can move forward. I imagine you sign it, or maybe the prior superintendent, and then our town administrator signs something.
Yes, I've already signed it.
You have?
Yep.
Okay. Did you make sure you were doing it ethically?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so the school committee has signed it, you have signed it.
Yep.
This is not signing us up for any, from what I read, any financial, we're just saying we are moving the next step in the process to move this forward.
Exactly. It's demonstrating that you understand that you're going into a partnership with the Mass School Building Authority that provides essentially a reimbursement program if we do end up executing a new school building project.
Can I ask a question?
Go for it.
While we're on the topic, and we're trying to, collaborate between the school and the town and everybody.
Sure.
I hear that there's a committee being put together. Do you happen to know if the select board will have a representation for that committee?
So with the school building committee, which is essentially going to be the decision-making board, representative of the town and the schools, what actually should happen is that the school committee and the select board should be voting for the approval of that committee to show its unity in who that committee is made up of.
Okay, so maybe like a joint meeting to decide the composition of that committee? Is that kind of what, or you're thinking more along
There's
the
no
lines of?
requirement.
Okay.
There's no requirement for any sort of vote. In fact, in some towns, the town administrator or the mayor might put the committee together and then present it to both the select board and the school committee for approval. So the way you go about doing that is really up to the town.
Question. Could you elaborate on your experience with this program through your career?
He's like, I was not ready for this, go
No,
for
no,
it."
that's
Sorry.
okay.
Oh, just that way we can-
I've never personally led a MSBA project.
Okay.
I've been involved in an MSBA project that actually took place on my campus. We built a new elementary school 6 years ago.
Okay.
And so the superintendent at the time insisted that I become a little bit more intimately involved with the process in preparation for my own future, in case I would ever be sitting at a select board meeting one day being asked questions about MSBA, but that's my experience to date.
So it's safe to say you are well aware of the process, the ebbs and flows of this, should we go down that path? Is that correct?
I would say I am pretty aware of it. I would say that this presents a great opportunity for the town. If our intent is truly to pursue a new school building project, Mass School Building Authority is a reimbursement program. And so they're going to help the town with the cost of that new school. So this is a great opportunity for the town.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I don't even know why I'm asking you so many questions, but I have to, because it's education for the public as well.
Sure.
Is the school committee taking action to figure out what they want this committee to look like? Or should the select board have a future agenda item to come up with with the town administrator, what we believe that committee should look like? Because I don't want to wind up in a battle, but on who did it first or who should do it first.
Sure, yeah, well, I know that the school committee is invested in the project, and so I think that we would have to collaborate a little bit more on answering what it is that you're asking for, which is, when are we gonna come together and really make those decisions?
Okay.
So the school committee's fully on board.
Yep.
And I think working with the town administrator would be a great next step in order to figure out how we bring that school building committee together and then put it all in front of you for a vote.
That sounds fantastic, and she's nodding, she's up on the corner of our six packs. All right, so, any further questions from members?
It's done.
And Heather, I know we chatted a little bit about this, so I just want to make sure, I know we talked about maybe having you sign, but it looks like I do. If we take a vote, it would be authorizing me to sign this paper.
The signature line is for the chief executive officer, which you as the chair, the select board is the executive office for the town of West Boylston. So
Believe
you
there's
as,
any,
you win the signature prize
that's
this evening.
great. Do you believe there's any ethical reason that I can't sign because my husband's on the school committee?
As long as the majority of your select board votes to authorize you to sign, I do not see an ethical issue.
Okay, I'll just wait till West Boylston Neighbors Connect tells me if I feel differently. All right, do I have a
And
motion?
They will.
I know. Do I have a motion to authorize me to sign the certificate?
I make a motion to authorize the select board chair to sign the initial compliance certificate for the Massachusetts School Building Authority.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. You're free, unless you want to
Thank
stay
you.
for the rest of the meeting, then you're welcome to. We're gonna go through policies.
All right, okay, I'll ponder it while I'm,
Thank you so much and welcome.
thank you for the invitation.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank you for your time.
All right, now I'm gonna go back up, Faye, because I like to jump around on you. All right, so, review of policies. First one on there is A8, outgoing select board member process. In your packets, you would have seen a link to the updates on there. Do I have a motion to approve what you have seen?
A motion to approve the change for A8 outgoing select board process.
Do I have a second for discussion?
Second.
So I do have a question about this. So since we are in reviewing policies, don't we need to have what's the word
Hearing?
I'm looking for?
Public
Yes, a
hearing.
public hearing to actually approve these, or are we just reviewing these for approval?
So this would be, from what, Heather, if you can just state, what I understood is it's a little different than changing like prices. This is the hearing type of notice.
This meeting, and I'll have Faye confirm, but we posted this meeting as your public hearing.
Okay.
So those policies were advertised in a public hearing format for you to be able to take action tonight. Faye, am I correct?
Yes, and just a little, I'll add a little bit to that. So we had changed the bylaw 2 town meetings ago now, or a town meeting ago. So this requires a public notice. So the notice, the public is on notice that we're gonna discuss these. If it
Okay.
includes, my understanding, different financials, fees, that would require a public hearing notice. This doesn't fall under that,
Because it's with
these
this.
particular policies.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So I have a motion, a second. Any further question or discussion?
The language, updating it was appropriate and clean, so.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. The next one is a larger one, so it's K11 Personnel Policies, number 1 through 12. I believe we have a member of the Personnel Board, and I believe there was an update sent a couple hours ago. Is there something else sent out?
Not with this item.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Christina, what we sent out a couple of hours ago was adding the last item on policies, which was to assign the review responsibilities to David. So that was what was sent.
All right, wonderful, thank you.
I have a question about that, though.
Okay.
Because the second thing on here, draft personnel bylaw with text removed, that would now be policy K11. That wasn't in our original. This is new, as of a couple hours ago, correct?
No, that was like, I sent that yesterday afternoon. There were no documents included with today's update, just the addition of the reassignment.
All right.
Vanessa,
Given
am
the
I
num-
wrong?
Go ahead, sorry, I was like, I stopped, I think there's like
Oh.
a pause.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, you go, Heather.
I'll wait to be addressed by the chair. I'm sorry. I
No,
just
you're
wanna make
good.
sure-
I think there's just a delay in the timing, maybe. The floor is yours, Heather, go for it.
So yesterday's update, we included the bylaw document, which was sort of, you're here tonight to discuss the policies. And I felt that since the policies it would inevitably lead to a discussion about what would the new bylaw look like. I did add that as a link on your agenda under the personnel policy discussion. So it was not a new agenda item. It was a new document under the agenda item for K11.
Okay.
And so just to give a little background for anyone listening or taking notes, originally you had come to the bylaw committee, and it was before our meeting, the town meeting, and the goal of that was to modify the bylaw that kind of has all of this stuff packed into it. It's the only way to modify any of these, I would say, policies. You have to go to town meeting, and then it's on the floor for voters to modify. During that meeting, it was kind of said to you, well, before we agree to bring this to town meeting, we need to see the policies, right? Because if you go to town meeting and we say, hey, we're removing this bylaw, the people could say, well, what then goes in place of it? And we could say, but we're working on that. So at that request, it was, hey, you have these, send them to the select board, because the process here is, it becomes a select board policy, right? We review as first, and then we would send these accompanying the changes to what the recommendation changes to the bylaw would be. Because the bylaw committee has no oversight of policies created by this board. We are the policy setting board. They do not review them, nor do they have feedback to offer us on them. But on bylaws, absolutely. So the policies will be sent to bylaws so that they can see the reason the recommendation is coming to the bylaw change is because a policy has been created in place of the bylaw. And that brings you here where you sent, there were way more pages than I had actually anticipated. But you're here kind of covering it. And what I would say to you is, I have to be completely honest, there is a lot of words on a lot of pages that I know you guys have really been working on. So I feel like I'm doing a disservice to say tonight we're gonna vote. I can't even vote. I don't have my little bangy thing.
Gavel.
My gavel's missing. They took it away. Probably better. But it might be, we might need to chop it up to a little bit. So I just say that because I don't want you to get frustrated and be
Oh,
like,
no.
what are you guys doing here and why is it taking so long?
There's a lot of pages because the bylaw itself has a lot of pages, many more than it should. So what I did put together a crosswalk, because that was one of the recommendations, so you could see where we were taking information out of the bylaw and putting it into a policy. So, I don't know, do they have this, Faye?
Yeah, I have it attached.
I just have a couple questions, but I don't know if you were going to explain that or if you want me to ask questions as we go along or, okay.
Your meeting.
So everything that's on the current personnel bylaw, the middle is what's going to become personnel bylaw and the right's going to be the policy, correct?
Correct.
So the only question I have is, PP personnel policy, and then it has number. So each of those will kind of tackle some of these. I don't see personnel policy number 1. Is that?
Right, and because if you look on, it's section 4J, which is hiring procedures. That actually is the select board policy K11. So the personnel board would kind of like to take it from the select board and make it a personnel policy, because hiring really is a personnel process. So it's the identical, it's nothing new, it's just we want to renumber it from K11 to whatever numbering system.
Would that be PP 1, personnel policy
Yes,
1?
yes, that would be the first one.
Okay.
So I think the thought was, Heather and I had talked about, if you don't mind, Heather, that we may reformat the lettering on this to
Yeah.
make, once we get it into a document or that we like, we'll renumber it so it makes a little bit more sense, but it's kind of tough to think about what we tried to do as a personnel committee, make it, so it makes sense when it's on its own, but then to add it in here, we may end up making it like personnel policy K11A, B, C, like that.
Right, I mean, this is just so I could keep my head straight when we're talking about each particular one.
So my question on this would be, because I was trying to think, so select board has 99 policies, right? Individual policies that have a name and an association to some weird numbering convention that I'm not sure where it came from. Would this truly, so this wouldn't be a select board policy, this would be a personnel policy, and these would be individual policies separate, right? Not one big policy.
No, so I think it would fall under the select board policies as the K, whatever, we would have
Yeah.
K11 section A, and you would have all of these in front of you. So it would be a select board policy, because there's no
The
other policy
policy setting board.
location.
So would these, my thought is, if I have to modify this in 20 years from now, and we decide not to be called select board, we decide to be called Purple Elephant, do I have to do this, and do I have to do individuals? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, or is it one personnel policy?
I I don't know if Heather wants to weigh in this, that we create like completely different policy numbers, you know, what you're saying is like create a
'Cause then you
K-12,
open one.
K-13, K-14 for each of those individual, I'm gonna call them sections.
Right.
Because my
It's
thought
something to
is,
talk about.
if you open it, then everything in it becomes subject, right? So if we open K11, and I am Christina Pedoni and we are just supposed to be talking about personal days. And I decide I'm also looking at military leave and termination. I technically, if it's in one document, I can do a sweeping vote at this table, which then could change all of it for you folks, because we would be able to modify instead of giving you a chance to do it individual. It was my concern.
Heather, my thoughts on that would be like, we would say, we're gonna work on section K11, I'm sorry, policy K11, section B today. And that's how
So it wouldn't,
I think you could narrow out the sections if you're holding a public notice like tonight.
yeah,
I think there wouldn't be a reason why you couldn't just pick out a single section. I don't necessarily think it's as formal as you're thinking it is, maybe.
I've been here
But
4 years.
Heather, what's your opinion?
I've seen this.
Yeah, I really can see it from both sides. I think Christina's got a very good point that it would be very cumbersome as one document when you're looking to edit a specific section. But I don't know how you avoid that if you're going to create a personnel policy.
This was just one of the questions I had
Yeah.
from looking at this, because I was like, I have been at this table where we were coming to talk about one topic and
Yeah.
then had people come with multiple changes to the entire thing, and we had sweeping changes, and then it was basically catch up because it was, all right, town administrator, you have to alert 4 or 5 boards. Faye, you need to update the site and alert whoever you can find on there, because it changed like a bunch of sections that, I mean, we are one board of 5 making the policy for everyone else. So it's just, I'm thinking, and
Yep,
we
yep.
might not all be sitting here in 3 years, where logically we would say it only opens up that section.
Right?
So this is my thought. I know we're not gonna go down the rabbit hole, but I thought I could see this going wrong in 3 years from now when we're trying to update ones of these. I'm talking too much. Go ahead. Oh.
No, go ahead.
Is
Dave.
there a governing doc for structure that specifies our breakdown such that we can say they have to fit in these particular silos, if you will, and then we can then choose based on that standards doc to say we will only address those sections, and if we force things into these buckets, then we avoid kind of the problem that you're alluding to?
We do not. Besides, I think that massive Excel spreadsheet that I put out that linked all of our policies together, that I think is the first time I've seen a view of all of them in one place, just to even get a connection.
Okay.
But I would say no, that I have seen.
Since there's only 11 under K, could we just continue the numbers for 12 additional numbers? I mean, that way it's not,
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Heather. I should
No,
look up there.
don't be sorry. I'm just over here in the corner on the wall. I think we're also talking about perhaps removing some, or, you know, there will be some duplication in what you have in front of you tonight within K11 that would either make, I'm just going to say hypothetically, K3 obsolete, or at least be amended. So perhaps what we could do as a way forward would be to, using the K11 document, say we'll take the first 3 or the 3 or 4 policies within, and I'm using the word policy because that's what's on the document, but I think what we really want to say there is sections. So you take the first 3 sections and we'll pull out any of your existing K1 through 10 policies that could potentially be affected by, and we'll work our way through that, through the K-11 document, section by section. And then when we find out what we've eliminated from K-1 through 10, or what's been modified, maybe we can look at a renumbering of the entire system of sections. I'm not saying that articulately at all, but
Yeah, that makes sense.
would that be a helpful way to start thinking about
That is,
working our way through it?
Yes, I have just another question about the crosswalk. Is this just like a starting, like an example of what it will look like? Because I see it ends in section 4, but on here we have 9 sections. So are there supposed to be more, or there's just so many, there's the personnel policies, the general bylaw and the select board policies, and all 3 of them are very confusing to keep them straight. So I'm just trying to figure out where the crosswalk is coming from.
Okay, the crosswalk is strictly from the personnel bylaw as it exists today. The second column is the draft personnel bylaw.
Right.
And if it's blank, then that means we've pulled it out. And there should be a corresponding policy. And really, I hardly changed anything other than titles
No, I know, I'm
and
just,
groupings. So I grouped all the leave stuff is gonna be in one leave policy.
right. And I get that, but on the personnel bylaw,
Yes,
it says section 1 through 9, but on the crosswalk, it only is showing section 1 through 4, and then the 4 has a bunch of letters next to it.
that's the
So-
way it's written currently. The bylaw is currently written like that.
Okay, so we're changing it from 4, a bunch of letters, to 1 through 9?
Yes, yeah, because it
Okay.
went up to,
Okay,
for AA, for BB, so it,
okay,
yeah,
that
it
makes
didn't make
more
sense
sense
with
too.
all that. And once we pulled all that
Yes.
information out, just made it more logical to just go numerically.
Okay.
all right. I'm wondering how you want to approach giving us information. I'm trying to think of how I would stage this question, because we could be here all night.
Hope not.
Are there highlights or cliff notes? Like so we're gonna take these and review them, right? Because we gotta do some comparisons. Are there anything in here for us that still hasn't, like, so if we, our next meeting, kind of chunk these into buckets, like sorry, I have it open in front of me, but hold on. If I look at that crosswalk portion.
Yes.
And we bucket these, don't say no right away, please. If we bucket them like the first section 1, I'm just gonna use this, section 1 through section 4A dash policy statement for one meeting, is it too hard to bucket it, to take sections of it and do it?
I had broken it up into groups of 3 policies each,
Okay.
just because I know
Makes it
that
easier.
it's more time sensitive.
Okay.
I mean, it just makes more sense. And like I said, usually if there's any changes, it was usually just the title, and then it was logical groupings of HR topics in the policies. The only part in the bylaw itself that's changing, and I don't want to say significantly, but is the class and comp plan, of course, because that has to be in the bylaw as well as some of the policy. So that's probably the only squishy one of all of the policies that we've put together, is we have to have a close reading of the class and comp and the class and comp policy.
Okay.
So, I mean, all the others are cut and paste. I just took them out of this bylaw, threw a number on it.
I like cut and paste.
Yeah, so
When
do
it
I.
works, sometimes it doesn't work for me, but I like cut and paste. All right, so would it be fair, would it be fair to do section 1 I need Heather to give me a nod too, if she's okay. Section 1 through, you said 3 at a time, so section 1, 2, and 3 at our next meeting? Or is that,
No, works for me.
all right.
Okay.
And that'll give us a chance to review. And then we'll just do 3 every meeting until we're done.
Yeah, I think the hopes is that we get this before town meeting in October. So that's why Heather and I talked about getting this introduced to you guys tonight, just kind of as a whole, have Cheryl here and decide how we're gonna go from here.
I think it's good because at least it's almost like a data dump. That's how I establish this. Like, I'd rather you just dump it on me because then I can work through sections of it and ask questions instead of doing it right here. All right, so at that point, we will pass over this for right now. We'll add 3 to our next one, which would be sections 1, 2, and 3. And during that time, the board would be, all the board members should review these and ask questions, review the bylaw. And Heather, would we direct those questions to you? What should we do?
Please. Yes. And I will share them with Cheryl and the other members of the Personnel Board.
Would it be easier, Heather, do you want us in some cases, like we assign policies to different board members? Do you want to assign it to one person and have it all funnel to that board member and that board member go to you, or do you not? 5 can be a lot to deal with on a daily basis, but I mean, I don't know.
Your preference.
I don't want to do it at all. No. What do you guys think? How do you want to, we assign individuals to people. I'm just wondering if it becomes 5 of us reviewing it and asking you the same redundant 5 questions.
How many total are there that we're doing?
Policies, 12.
Okay, so if there's 12 and there's 5 of us, if we each commit to 2 to 3
Okay.
and like take ownership of those, and then whatever it ends up being, I think that might be, and we could just go in order.
That,
1, 2, 3.
you're okay with that?
I'm fine with it.
I was gonna say, I know you're new to the board. I feel like we're assigning work to him. He just got here.
I signed up for it, right?
Okay. So,
And so with the, point of clarification, then would the point be we would essentially walk through them, note areas of concern, discuss at meeting?
all the board members would review it.
Yep.
Individually, we would send you questions because we can't send them directly. You would compile those questions with any questions you might have and work directly with Heather to get those answered.
Okay.
And if a board member does not provide you feedback, then
They are good with it as
they
is.
are good with it as is.
I see where you're going with. That's gonna be complicated to do all of us. Don't you think?
I'm
Or
gonna
maybe
read everything.
Why don't?
I don't know.
Well, yes, I agree with that, but I mean, I think there should be one point person in general for this. I mean, we're all gonna review it, but I think there should be one point person, because that's gonna get crazy. Just direct all of our questions to Heather? I honestly think that's probably the best way to do it.
All right.
I only say that because then it can funnel to Cheryl,
Yeah.
to the personnel board.
Yeah, because it's gonna get complicated, like, oh, who was in charge of 3?
I was trying to be helpful, Heather. It did not work,
Okay.
so I'm
Yeah.
gonna go back to say, we'll see you for the first 3 at our next meeting.
Yeah, okay. And what I think that Cheryl and Faye and I can do is just sort of look at the K 1 through 10 and identify any of those that should be taken into consideration with sections 1, 2, and 3. So we're all looking at the same, at the same words.
Okay.
Okay,
I
great,
love
thank
it. Well,
you.
thank you so much. If you want to stay for the rest of the meeting, it'll be eventful. No, you're out of here?
I'm
I
outta
feel
here.
it. All right, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Okay.
All right. Scared to go to the next one. L29, emergency call-in inspection service stipend.
I motion to approve L29 emergency call-in inspection service stipend.
Do I have a second?
Second for discussion.
Yep.
The only, I liked the language of this fine. The only thing I wondered, and it could be a sort of an addendum to this, is do we already have a standard form in the town for non-emergencies that we expect contractors to fill out, such that we're getting the information back from contractors or whoever is performing the emergency service inspections in a consistent manner? Such that if we're ever questioned on why we paid someone to go out for X, Y, Z reasons, we at least have their information back to us in a standard format that we can compare with others.
I'm gonna say no, but Heather, please correct me. I haven't seen one, so I'm gonna say no, but correct me if I'm wrong here.
We have a building permit application form. We do not have a form that inspectors would use for emergency callouts. But again, I think that the nature of each of these, and as few as they have been, one or two a year, I think they're going to be so unique that trying to capture that on a form would be challenging. There is a section in that policy that does require them to provide me a written narrative.
So those bullet points that are on the document, mostly those bullet points, if they were placed into a form, would essentially be the whole body of the form, because it asks what time you showed up, what you performed. I'm gonna skip over a few, what time you ended your work and what time you left site. So if we just had those consistently documented, I feel like that would just set us up for clean, consistent data going forward. And hopefully they are few and far between, and hopefully the hour that it takes someone to create that form, if we choose to ask for it, is the largest amount of work that we'll ever have to put into this topic.
Good point.
But other than that, the rest of the form looks great.
Thank you. May I ask, would it be the board's preference to have that form as part of the policy, so that the form that you have some forms, you have some policies that have a form that is in conjunction with that policy? Or do you want to just have it be administrative?
I'm wondering if it would be good to do this is part of the protocol, so at any time, the board could say, I'd like to see a report of this, and you would have to put this together, because they wouldn't get paid unless you knew date, time. I know they're not gonna get paid if they don't have some of this. So I'm wondering, I worry about attaching another link to a policy just because of what I have found recently. So I'm wondering, I know where you're going, but I'm wondering if that there is, they have to have that. So if you say, I want to see how many there were, they're going to have to come forward with this, because that's the protocol that we're laying out in the policy. I don't know if I want to attach a form to it. I would personally say to you, because then it's just hard to, you know what I mean? It's hard to keep the links and the updates going.
And if we ever need to
sometimes.
rev the form, then we have to go through all this. Yeah.
Then we have to we have to do a hearing, and then,
I see.
you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's, you're on par, that's kind of why we have this, but I do think it's more challenging for us to manage it.
I follow. So is it, follow-up question then for Heather, essentially, if we're not getting the information listed on this policy, or they're outlining the scope of work more or less, if we don't get that document from the contractor, whoever, they're not getting paid, correct?
So it would be the inspector that we'd be paying, not a contractor.
Sure,
So
thank
I just want to make sure that
Thank
I'm
you for
understanding.
clarification.
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding what you're asking. I think administratively, a form, even if it's, just as you said, highlighting those bullet points makes a lot of sense. That way, I'm not looking at a email and making the assumption that they have ticked all the boxes. So I think administratively, we could create that and just have that as part of what we do in the office, like a licensing form. I'm going to use as an example. And if you asked me for copies of who was paid, of which inspectors were paid for an emergency call-out, I would be able to quickly get those forms together and supply them to the board. I think that's a really productive way of handling it.
Does that satisfy?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so I have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. All right. So the next item on the agenda is the select board policy assignments. I feel like it was a year ago, but it doesn't, it really wasn't a year ago. I was trying to read all of the select board policies and decided all of them in some way, shape, or form needed to be updated. In that, I took the initiative to put them in an Excel and then assign them to folks and send them out in hopes that they would edit them and bring them forward. And now we have a new board member, and I know he is very excited to take on some of that work. So I wanted to take a second, and originally I was thinking maybe reassign the ones that were assigned to the prior board member to you, but also wanted to open up the opportunity that maybe you feel passionately about the ones that I have, and then you would like to do those too, and that would be okay. I gotta try. I really gotta.
Fair enough. I have not made it through all of them yet. I'm fine with taking on the policies that the prior select board member had. Additionally, one that already sort of caught my attention, looking for updates possibly, were computer and software use and the social media policies under the section J, data processing.
I love those because those were assigned to me, so I am completely okay to reassign those from me to you, on top of the ones the prior
Yep.
person had.
Yep.
Heather, do you feel any strong about any, I know this came before you, but
Oh.
any strong opinions on ones you wanna, I know you were reviewing some as well.
No, I think that it's a good practice for the board to go through them individually, and I am, I'm reading through them from my own perspective and have noticed things that I would make as recommendations, and I sent you the document that I'm building from yours, which sort of charts out all of the various updates and links back to the minutes so that we can see the discussion behind the revisions over the years. So I think this is a really good work in progress, and I guess very specifically, whatever David wants to take on is absolutely okay by me as well. Thank you.
All right, would it be possible for yours, I'm looking at it, your colors are much friendlier than mine. Would it be possible to send this to the entire board? Because I think it's a great, or share it in a format so we can all see it
Yep.
ongoing. And
Yep.
then update where Mark is, we'll put David, and for the two that were assigned to me for software and for social media, we're gonna unassign me and assign those to David as well. This has been
Yes.
a great
Yeah.
meeting for me.
I have a question though.
Go ahead.
So I was assigned K 1 through 11, but now that personnel is kind of taking that over, should we just assign that to personnel? Can we change that on there?
I'm only taking work away from me today, but I mean, I guess we could do that if you're trying to get rid of work. So, K11,
1 through 11, they're all assigned to me, but
So-
if personnel board's taking that on, we all have to review that anyways. Can
Okay,
can that be assigned to them?
Once personnel gets through it, if you like their changes in policies, then you could essentially say, I propose that we update our policies to match their wording, and essentially, you still do the work, but someone else done the work for you, you're just kind of rubber stamping at the end.
that's better too, because it keeps the work on her plate. That's good.
That's fine with me. I just wanted to bring that up.
Which
that
also
we're-
means
are
that-
duplicating efforts.
Which also means that now you're acutely tied into how they
Right.
update the policies, so
Mhm.
you can,
Will say also, just, when you first assigned these to us, a lot of my policies overlapped with personnel, so I did reach out to them originally mentioning that I'd like to, collaborate with them. But I also reached out to the finance committee because a few of mine overlap with theirs too, so I do plan on going to one of their meetings whenever they put it on their agenda to discuss some of that too. So if you have any overlap or anybody has any overlap with other boards, might be a good way to collaborate.
I love it. All right. Any other items? I don't think I need to vote for that to change it. No. All right. Moving on. Skip that one. So the next item on the agenda is consider signing the contract for Republic Services for curbside collection of solid waste and recycling effective July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2030. Now, I know we received an update. Based on that update, it is a red line edit from Town Council, Republic, SWAT. Is there anyone else
It was
that redlined this?
No, well, my additions to the liquidated damage section were in there as well. But that's, I provided a clean copy as well so that you would be able to read through it as a single document. It was pretty tedious in the red line. I think that I can sum up Town Council's comments. He basically struck any opportunity for liability or risk to the town pretty aggressively. And I think that's where we'll see some pushback from Republic, because that was obviously a lot of their language that they had in their contract. And our attorneys are looking out for our best interest in trying to make sure that we have as limited risk and liability as possible. So I am still negotiating with Republic. They have not approved all of KP Law's red lines. And they have also not approved the liquidated damage portion, which is new to the contract this year. At your last meeting, you asked that we look at opportunities to protect residents and also our budget from when they are not able to complete their routes or have other shortcomings. The problem is that the contract will expire on the 27th. So I don't know if it's preferable for the board to have a special meeting to approve a final draft, or if you are comfortable authorizing me to continue negotiations and sign on your behalf.
So typically in the past, we've done special meetings in some cases. I know in here, there are some public work, so traffic, if things are not collected during a period of time. So some of those service level agreement items that our folks want. Is there also, and I'm sorry, I'm just running through some of this red line right now. Is there any termination clause, right? So if for whatever reason in 24 months from now, the town of West Boylston deems that we are unhappy with the service and we would like to terminate the contract, I of course don't want to pay them till 2030. So I don't see that jump out to me on here, which I would have expected a way out of a contract where it's not me paying the entirety of the contract. Technical support,
I
don't mean to put you on the spot, but that
No,
was one of the
it's
things
okay. I'm limited with what I have in front of me. Just give me a second to pull that up. We can look at that together.
So personally, I got a chance to review this.
Yes.
I thought the edits to the contract made sense and answered some of the complaints I've heard from the town residents. I imagine we're all hearing, seeing, or reading these complaints. I like that it mentions a lot of these things. My only issue with it, Heather, was initially going into this, I wanted to authorize you to sign this, but if there isn't a way out, like if there's not a way for the town to get out of this contract, that puts me at pause. One, because now I'm tying the town to a contract till 2030.
Right.
And then second, if they say, hey, we're not agreeing to any of these service level agreements, and we take them out, now when the town comes back to us, we authorized that, which could be hard. So I'm wondering to give you peace of mind and the board peace of mind, you're still waiting to hear from them. So the one item I would say is, unless you find it, I do not see where we can get out of this. It is a binding contract till 2030, but maybe we have a special meeting via Zoom just on this.
Yeah.
I second that.
Yeah, that's fine with me. Section 29, all contracts are subject to appropriation. I believe that the second portion, the town shall cancel this agreement and the town shall have no further liability to the company under this agreement. The company shall be entitled to compensation for all services that were satisfactorily and completely performed prior to the expiration of the last fiscal year for which the appropriation was available for this purpose. So essentially, the out clause is that we simply don't fund it.
Which would be a town, for us, that would be a town meeting vote not to fund. And it would be, if this is verbiage that goes to the last. It
Yeah,
almost seems
so-
like a 1 year, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a 1 year and then we have 2 town meetings, so it's a 1 year.
Yeah, so I'd be interested to see what your out clause was in your last contract. since
I'm
this
almost
was the
positive there
same.
wasn't.
Yeah, but,
We normally don't see them very often.
so yeah, let me see if council has any advice on how to have a exit clause that does not connect back to funding, just simply dissatisfaction with
opinion.
service. Yeah.
Because they could come back and there could be real issues, and now, if we don't have an opinion,
Yeah.
you're faced with a problem here, trying to manage it. Go ahead, David, sorry.
So I like the idea of having a brief meeting, Zoom-based, just on this topic, once we get a little bit more clarity in a couple of the concern points in this. Given that we were still seeing some changes coming through today, I personally have not had time to go through any of the most recent node updates prior to coming to meeting, so I would really prefer the opportunity to read through it and then have like I said, just a brief, maybe in 15 minutes. We've got the closest thing that, the closest body of work in the contract before we can sign it, ready to go, if we can do it early next week, and then say, we can give our yes, nos on at that point.
So,
Absolutely.
so do you think do you know when they might be back to you, Heather, with agreeing to it?
The contract expires on the 27th, so I'm assuming it'll be sometime next week.
Okay, so why don't we table it and let us know how you make out and what you receive, as soon as you receive it, and the opinion of town council on that paragraph, because maybe I'll read it. I was articulating it a little bit or comprehending it a little bit different. So if we can do those two things, and then we could have a quick Zoom meeting whenever you say, hey, I've got it, I'm ready, and we post it and have that
Great.
We still,
48-hour notice.
I'd be particularly interested in feedback sooner than later on the liquidated damage section. I want to make sure that I'm giving Republic enough opportunity to review what we're looking for the dissatisfaction in work quality, and if the amounts. I've confirmed that the amounts are standard with DEP and several other communities that have them, including the town of Shrewsbury. But I want to make sure that it's what you're looking for as well, since that is new and was a specific request. So
I think mine's, personally, I thought these were good. I know, David, you need to read them. Mine's the only question I have based on what I'm seeing in front of me is just the exit clause. I thought
Okay.
the liquidation, I hope they go for it. My little concern is they are going to say no to the entire section, and that's gonna change the way I feel about the contract. Right, just based on the problems we're currently having.
Well, that's one of the reasons that I went to DEP, to make sure that I was using standard liquidation clauses from other communities' contracts, so that we have a lot of past practice from other communities to fall back on. And they may push back, but I think that what they would push back on would be the amounts and not so much the items, that were in. Again, the list is a lot longer than even the, what we're seeing in West Boylston is that they just run out of time in the course of a week. That they either don't have enough vehicles or enough personnel to be able to get out and get all of the trash picked up. But the liquidation clause that we're having in here has probably 8 other things that could go wrong, but that we haven't seen, so maybe they push back on the length of the list, but what I would expect would be more the amounts.
So I think that's good. I think we'll look to schedule, you'll wait to hear back from Republic.
Yeah.
David, if you get a chance to review it and direct Heather any questions. And then just Heather, the only thing I have in front of you tonight is waiting for your feedback and also better understanding that section of, if we terminate, what's our real, knowing our town meeting, we only have 2. What if everyone votes, no, I'm not gonna terminate, and we're stuck for another cycle, which could happen? That's my only concern. How much is it if we need to get out for whatever reason? All right, so we've passed that subject on. The next item here is town meeting survey, and there are 3 examples here. I would almost say, if everyone has reviewed them, does someone have one that they like the best and make that motion? I do not.
So I reviewed them and I liked example 1 the best. I thought it was easiest to read. What I was going to ask tonight is, the last time we did this was about this time last year, is I met with the town administrator privately and just kind of went over specifics of what we want to see on this survey, and just did it ourselves. If you guys want to just designate me to do that, or if you'd like to go through every question tonight.
I don't want to do it. Do you want to, David?
So I was going to say simply that I felt that the town of Concord's, which is the one you're referring to, was the most legible and well laid out. So I'm in agreement that their format would be the one that I would use going forward.
Okay, so if you're okay with this, Heather, and I imagine you're trying to get it, yeah, she loves it. All right, so we will, I would say, David, do you want to motion Vanessa Runpoint on working through the town of Concord survey that's on here with the town administrator to present the final one? So moved.
So moved.
Okay, did you get all those words to anyone? It's recorded.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All right, this one is very exciting. I'm gonna talk all about it. Now, so this is the creation of a DCR or DOC pilot subcommittee. I had this added to the agenda for our new member, so I'm gonna hand it over to him to speak on.
Thanks. The broad purpose of this, and the name, another name we had tossed around was to establish a pilot program assessment subcommittee, that we were not specifically tying it down to whether it is strictly reservoirs / DCR or Department of Corrections, but just any flavors of payments in lieu of taxes can all be on the list. I'm open to that. The broad purpose or mission of this is to establish by the West Boylston Select Board to evaluate the equity of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation, also Department of Corrections, payment in lieu of taxes programs as it pertains to the town of West Boylston. The subcommittee shall assess whether the current pilot arrangements appropriately compensate the town for the value of DCR and Department of Corrections manage the lands, especially considering the Wachusett Reservoir's impact on the town. Broadly, I would propose that the committee be of 5 members, 1 from the Select Board, 1 from the Finance Committee. The other positions I was more flexible on, potentially town assessor, and then open to general members of the public that feel motivated or passionate about the project, or perhaps bring some particular skill sets that would help this committee.
Okay. Heather, have you read the proposal and have any feedback on it? Anything that we're doing that we shouldn't be doing? Any gotchas that will come of this? I don't know. They'll stop giving us pilot funds. Anything that you can think of before I send poor new David down a path of happiness?
I've spoken with State Rep O'Day. He's anticipating that we're putting this group together, and will work with us as much as his schedule allows. And I think that the idea of adding a member of the Board of Assessors is a good addition. Certainly, department heads would be available to this group as necessary as well.
Okay. So I almost have one opinion I'd offer you.
Please.
I do think you should make it 1 member of the Select Board. Only because it gives you an opportunity to have an extra member. So if you do 1 member of the Select Board, 1 member of Finance Committee, and I believe you would want I think you'd want the town administrator to have like a seat on that. And then 2 members, residents at large, was my thought, to make sure, but that was my only thought, because it gets complicated because we're on so many boards as designees. You're gonna have a hard time getting us from this meeting on the other boards and the other things that we're passionate about, and to your meeting to prioritize. That was my only thought, but that's, if anyone else feels passionately
And
about it.
you're saying 1 as opposed to, I think, the originally, what we put out was 1 to 2.
I was
Is
looking at
that-
this, yep,
No, you're fine.
sorry.
No, we're in agreement. That I thought, so I was targeting 5. So, because also larger committees seem to have a harder time meeting quorum, so.
All right, well, so on that note, do I hear a motion to create this subcommittee to establish this pilot program assessment committee? And the makeup would be 1 Select Board member, 1 member of the Finance Committee, 1 member of the Assessors Department, and 2 members of the public. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Yes.
Any further question or discussion?
1 point of clarification, members of the public, whether that be limited to West Boylston residents, or could, for example, town admin, if we wanted to, town employees?
I think
I
it's
don't think
usually
I
taxpayers,
vote.
right?
Yeah.
Registered voters, taxpayers?
Yeah, I would certainly participate, but I would not necessarily expect a voting
Okay.
position on that committee.
Great.
So I think the taxpayers,
Okay, perfect,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Just wanted to
And
get the
just to-
clarification.
and just to clarify, is it from the Assessors Department or the Board of Assessors?
Board of Assessors, sorry.
That's, yeah.
No, just double checking.
All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And there's no opposed, because I heard 3 of you. So can you send, does the, do they have this paper?
I have other copies of it. I just
Can you
handed it out.
send it, Faye? Do you want him to email this to you?
Yep,
So
absolutely.
if you can email, we'll put this together. All right, so now that the committee has been put together, what will happen typically is we will post it. You'll send out the volunteer forms, people will fill those out. And then our town administrator will review the applications, recommend the 2 folks, they will come to the select board, or it could be a few folks. We will vote on the 2 people that will have this position. With that said, since there is a person on the select board as a designee, do I have a motion to appoint someone? Not me.
I motion for David to be appointed.
Second.
Any further discussion? I have none. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. All right. We're so effective. All right. And you're gonna send this off. So the next item I have is approve a license for the Shake Up at 181 West Boylston Street. This is the common vec license. Anything I need to know? Nope. All right. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the license for Shake Up.
All right. Do I have,
Second.
all in favor?
I have a question.
Oh, God, sorry.
So-
I'm telling you.
Why are we approving this license after they've been open for a while?
We were never notified that they were open.
Okay,
So as soon as I saw the Facebook post, we reached out to them and she came right in.
okay. I mean, is there a way that we can make sure that doesn't happen going forward?
So we're working on a procedure, having like a chart, so new business people can follow along where they need to head.
Okay.
That's all.
If we had a town planner, that would be that person's job.
I
Sorry.
didn't want to say it.
I'm just giving, someone gave me feedback earlier today that I should drop these things randomly in my conversation, so you'll hear this. All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, the next item, which I'm gonna tell you, we have a ton of ribbon cuttings. I showed up one down the street. This is a citation for the Shake Up ribbon cutting on June 24th, 2025. I'm believing it says 4 PM to 5 PM, but I'm guessing they're gonna cut the ribbon at 4?
I'm guessing, yeah. That's just their ceremony.
Ceremony, okay.
So moved.
Second,
Yes.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There is no old business, which is great. For reappointments for June 2025, there are a lot of them on the sheet. I am going to say, Affordable Housing Trust Boards of Trustee, there are 3 people on here for a 2-year term. Bylaws Committee, there is 1 person on here for a 1-year term. Finance Committee, there is,
Bylaws has two.
Bylaws has 2, sorry, it's on that page. Finance Committee has 2 members from July 1st, 2025 to June 30th. Personnel, which is in a select board appointment, has a 3-year term, July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2028. Has 2 members and 1 employee. One of those members are an employee designee. Cable Advisory, which is a town administrator appointment for 1 term, has 6 members on that. Insurance Advisory has 1 member for 3 years, and I am gonna say, as a sweeping vote, unless someone wants to pull any one of these areas out separately, I'd take a motion to reappoint these members or appoint these members on these boards as listed in the agenda.
Motion to reappoint.
Do I have a second for discussion?
Second for discussion.
And during this discussion, if we want to pull out sections, we just get lists of these, so I usually just say as they're kind of in there. All right, go ahead, all yours.
On the Bylaws Committee, Mr. Frieden, the prior select board, I think, appointee was there, is that correct? Or he's crossed through, so I didn't understand what we were trying to say.
He's an,
Which one?
He's the
Bylaws
planning
Committee.
board chair,
he's the planning board designee for this board.
correct.
Okay, so that's why he's, okay, I see.
Okay. And then David would be the one registered appointment. But, this is just listing out, you'll see others where, like Faye is the employee designee. And then Eric Larson is the, fire union representative.
Madam Chair, can I ask you a question? No?
I'm sorry, I hate doing it.
So I have no further questions.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, you have it. Moving on to the town administrator report. I love that she has 3 items in here and she's already checked them off. So that means they're done, right, Heather? You added a
Correct.
check, so I'm assuming it's
Correct.
done.
Correct.
Okay.
I can go through these very quickly because we've already discussed most of them. The Personnel Board met last week. We discussed the job description request for town planner, finance director, and the the municipal assistant position. We've already put together a town planner. We have several drafts, and I've asked for the planning board to add it to an upcoming agenda so they can review it, review them and provide feedback before we bring them to the personnel committee for their consideration. So just moving forward on that request, there is a intermittent, I'll pause if there's questions or concerns on that one.
None that I have.
No.
Anyone else? No?
No. The intermunicipal agreement that we have with the town of Boylston as well as the town of Sterling for the building inspector, for our building commissioner. We had a meeting to renew the terms of that intermunicipal agreement, otherwise known as an IMA. The commissioner has proposed to bring on 2 additional licensed local inspectors, bringing the total number of local inspectors to 3. We're also looking to bring the town of Berlin into the agreement, which would reduce costs theoretically for the original 3 communities. And I know that it's come up in several conversations about the local inspector that is assigned to the town of West Boylston, who is using a town vehicle and bringing that car home. That will be written into the agreement that is not going to be a practice going forward. The position is a 19-hour position, and at 19 hours, and quite often their payroll is usually around 14 hours. So tying up a town vehicle for a 14-hour position does not seem to make a lot of sense. But I will be bringing that agreement to the board once we have the terms finalized for your review and consideration. So thank you for your heads up on some of those issues. They were very helpful when I went to the meeting to discuss the terms and conditions. It made it a lot easier to move through that process. Finally, on the list I had, was going to discuss with you all what you had at your public comment. The residents of Franklin Street are very concerned about that bridge project. The project is actually in the town of Sterling. It was brought to my attention by the residents on Franklin Street. I worked with them to connect them to Mass DOT contacts, as well as meeting with the Department of Public Works to look at signage. Hopefully we will move forward with some of those changes and improvements to Fairbanks, so that by the time that the bridges are being worked on in the town of West Boylston, we have a solid plan and the residents' concerns are addressed. And I know that the board received a packet from the residents, and certainly if after you review that you have any input for me, I would very much welcome that. And the last thing is, Friday, I will have a virtual Zoom meeting with the Lieutenant Governor to follow up on our Worcester water woes, the ongoing billing concerns that the town of West Boylston, Rutland, and Holden have. That is finally moving forward. I don't have a lot of details on that. My understanding is that the lieutenant governor is going to be asking for our participation in an independent review by somebody of her choosing to look at the billing. I don't see where there's an issue with doing that, but again, I'll know more after the Friday meeting, but just wanted to let you know that there's been some movement on that.
Question.
And that's, yep.
On that meeting, will our legal representation with the town also be on that meeting, or is it just more of just a listening session?
No, Rick Holland, who is one of the KP attorneys, he represents both West Boylston and the town of Rutland, and he will be on the, I spoke with him this morning. He will be on the call and probably doing most of the talking, even though I love it, so,
Thank you.
yeah. Holden will be on the call as well, but they are represented by a different attorney. And that's all I have, unless there are questions about anything else.
Nope, I have none. Hearing none from the board. We're gonna skip forward to meeting invitations and announcements. I sent out to the board and to the Parks Commission, the head of the, I'm not even sure, the Little Kids Softball League, Erin McKenzie had reached out. The kids couldn't come to our ribbon cutting, because it was earlier in the day. She's gonna have a little event, like a scrimmage event for, the U10 kids that are moving up to U15. So she extended the invitation, would love if any of us could show up. And I've extended it to both boards. I know it's short notice and it's on a Thursday, but if anyone can go, I think it would be great, since this field really is kind of a closer. It's opening and closing at the same time for them, so they're getting an opportunity to be part of the event. The only thing I was gonna ask of Faye is, I sent it to Selectboard and Parks Commission. Could you send it to Jim O'Day and the, Robin Kennedy's person that was, I was just with her and yes, something. If you could send it to her just as notice, I know it's gonna be hard because it's a holiday, but, that is one that I had on mine. Anyone else? David,
oh.
sorry.
No, please
I
go ahead.
looked over, so I thought he had it.
I attended the Women Elected Municipal Officials Quarterly Meeting on June 10th, and it was regarding budgeting and overrides. So basically, there were 25 select board members, all women, that were represented, and pretty much every single one of them was either working on or had recently passed an override. So just so that people of West Boylston understand that we're not alone in this. Most towns in Massachusetts are dealing with this right now. We kind of talked through some of the struggles and, hopes for, moving forward with this. One thing that came of it that I thought was really interesting is that the DLS has a representative, his name is Sean Cronin, and he will offer a free analysis of our budget and give recommendations. There is a wait list for this, so we should sign up soon unless anybody has any objections to that.
I heart Sean Cronin. He's brilliant. We should definitely take advantage of that if he is willing to do that. Absolutely.
I love it. Thank you for attending more meetings. And I wholeheartedly just believe that West Boylston is the only place that has passed an override. I'm gonna stay in my bubble, okay, and say, we did a fabulous job. Heather, I don't know what she's talking about.
Sorry, I had one more.
You had one? All right, that's it
I'm
then.
sorry. I don't know where this goes. I'm just bringing it up here, so maybe someone could tell me where to bring this. I'd like to look into updating the handicap parking signs in town, so that they're in, align with the regulations. I don't know which board I go to for that.
I know. We have an ADA coordinator that we appointed at one of our last meetings. I think that she takes all of those and brings it to the ADA board.
Is it the Disability
Yeah,
Commission?
yeah.
Yes.
Yep, the Disability
Okay.
Commission. Yep.
All right. Are you sure? You don't
I-
have any more?
Well, I was going to say, since we're working through things, I was gonna offer to do L1, 2, and 3 for our July 16th meeting. Because we don't have on the next agenda, but we can hold off.
I think we should hold off.
Okay.
What do you,
I don't
unless
care.
you want to, you can put them on. We'll put all three on, I don't mind.
Just easy lifts, that's why I
David,
figured.
are you gonna be easier than Vanessa tonight? Do you have an announcement? You can make one up if you'd like to.
Last Friday, I attended MMA's new select board training course, 6-hour course in Devon's. I found it very insightful, and I hopefully am now more equipped for the position than I was a week ago based on that training and guidance, so.
Okay. Thank you for attending this. All right. Is there any future agenda items? Besides all the ones that are already out there?
Do we need to set a,
A date for the next Zoom?
for the Zoom?
I think we have to wait for the lawyer to get back. I think we'd have to wait for Republic to tell us when they're gonna get it back.
So that's 48 business hours.
I would set it to Wednesday
Which-
probably, if we
So
got
that's
it.
that's essentially the earliest we could, almost. well,
Well, if we get it by
Well,
Friday,
tomorrow's a federal holiday, right? So even if we posted it,
tonight, we wouldn't make the. So do we, Heather, could we just put a posting on for Wednesday of next week for a Zoom meeting to review the Republic's contract?
Yep.
Okay. That sound good?
Yep.
All right, 5?
5:30.
5:30?
Yep.
Now you're being difficult. No, it's good. All right, 5:30 via Zoom. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? We could stay if you'd like. Do
Motion to adjourn.
I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all.